I haven't been on a live in a very long time. I haven't posted to my channel in like 4 months. I haven't done any videos. So I couldn't figure out why I've been so restless, and I'm like, I kind of ignore energy unless it, well, let's just face it, I ignore energy because that's just who I am as a person. Um, Hello, Leanne. But it's just kind of been, I don't want to say on my heart because it's bigger than that. Like, it's just been in my head, this energy around to just come on and do a video. Whatever comes out, because you guys know how I channel, it's kind of all over the place. Um, I've been sitting here for like a few hours, like, well, I should have a plan, but that doesn't really go in that way. Hi, Tara. Kids are good. I had to close my door because they're yelling at their dolls in the hallway, and I'm just like, you know what? Go yell at them. You know what I mean? They're flying around as usual. Um, I have been kind of on a hiatus. Um, I think there's a lot of things going around just in general with the YouTube community, with social media, with the collective unconscious, and I need to take a break because it gets to be too much sometimes. And I think that if I'm gonna be a reader, if I'm gonna, try to give people advice, that I need to sit down and deal with myself too. You know what I mean? Sometimes. So that's basically what I've been doing, and I like to ignore a lot of things, but then they just build up and then I have to deal with them. You know what I mean? So basically, that's what I've been doing. I started a new job. I went back to school, kind of been sitting here, and I'm still restless because I was pulled back from this community for a reason, I think. And it was to kind of reflect on myself, but not only that, but like think about what I want to do with my life. You know what I mean? Because you can watch tarot on YouTube all day long and look for a certain message or try to make things go a certain way. But I think what it comes down to is we all have so much work to do on ourselves, and I wouldn't be able to, in good conscience, even be on YouTube if I didn't deal with myself sometimes. And I just turned 36, and I really haven't dealt with a lot of stuff in my life. And it kind of came out when my mother passed away, and you know, my kids are getting older. They're freaking crazy, so I've just kind of been all over the place. I'm not really quitting YouTube. I just feel like I needed to take a break because I don't think that I'm really ever going to be one of those people that does YouTube as a full-time job. Now, I'm not saying like ever, I'm just saying like right now, because it's really about consistency. And when I go through things, I don't want to read tarot. When I'm dealing with real life, I'm not going to post videos every day. And I think that it becomes expected after a while. People want you to come on here and post videos all the time and stuff, and I'm just like, I kind of like got really burnt out because it's not what I wanted to do anymore. And it kind of took the fun out of it for me too, because when I started doing tarot, I was in a really weird place, you know what I mean? And I think that I just needed to take myself a little bit more seriously. And I've just been sitting here and I'm like, okay, so what do they want me to talk about? You know what I mean? Because they don't leave me alone. I think that I've gotten really good at ignoring things, because even when I was little, my mom and my sister would be like, you don't listen, you know what I mean? You have selective hearing, and I do. But I also have like a really like overactive brain, so I'm all over the place and I can tap into stuff. But I think that it's kind of been a lot of low vibration energy, especially for like the feminine energy, because so many people forget that we were kind of erased from history. Even though women have been here since the beginning, it's kind of like we lost our respect somewhere along the way. And then we all have these childhood wounds, myself included, where it's never really been healed. We have so much healing on top of trauma, on top of, things that turn into mental illness because we were never taught how to deal with our emotions. And it's just like, I really think that there isn't a whole lot of respect for the feminine energy anymore, just as a whole, because, you know, like I said, we were erased. It's like people forgot who the true oracles were, who the healers were, who, going back to the beginning of time, we are the portal between another world. We bring life into this world. And I think that it has a lot to do, for me personally, when you have toxic parents like I did, a mother who was, she had her own issues, and I understand that, but at the same time, not what I needed as a role model, not something that I could base my life around. And when you grow up without that, how do you build the rest of your life? So I've been dealing with that for like months, because without role models, without people who have pride in themselves, without people who we can look up to, who do we become? As a mother, I'm pushing 40, but I'm 36, and I'm probably not going to even admit to when I turn 40, but this goes really deep for some of us, and it's just like, we really don't have the support. We don't really have, especially like for me in this town that I live in, people think I'm a witch or I'm this or I'm that. And it's just like, really, I just kind of tapped in and I've worked on myself. And it's just like, people can see you for what you are from a distance, but like in reality, like it takes a lot to even be here. And it's just like, I'm so tired of the lack of respect across the board. I'm so tired of people that have mommy issues, or the guys that I've had in my life, which that was my choice, but it's just like, I cannot heal everybody too. Like, I can't be your mother. I can't, like, I can tell you certain things, but it's just like, we really don't have anything to base anything on. Like, you can go back to the gods and the goddesses and you can worship these idols, but what do we really have to stand on? Like, there's millions of single mothers out here. There's millions of broken people. And we're just kind of like at a loss, We were never really given credit for the shit that we've been through. We're not really given respect for, staying at home with kids, or how hard it is, or, it's just like the faults are constantly being like thrown at your face, like, you're not doing this right, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. But it's just like, maybe we're just doing all that we can. You know what I mean? I will own my faults too, like, across the board. I know that there's a lot of faults, but it's just like, if you can't see beyond that, if we can't get to a place where we have respect for people, like, I just feel like there's this, like, surrounded by narcissism. People are so wrapped up in themselves. Like, it's just about them. It's not about anybody else. And then to be in this world and feel all this stuff, like, I don't want to have to feel everything all the time, but I do. And it's just like, I'm an emotional person. I'm going to cry. I'm going to actually have emotions. You know what I mean? Like, sue me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry that we were like taught not to deal with that. Like, we really weren't taught how to deal with life. We just have expectations, it seems like. And from whatever reason, it's just like, get a job, get the car, get the house. You're judged by status, what brand names you wear, like how you physically look. Like, come on, we have all of this dead weight, and it's just like, I think that need to find a way to be proud of ourselves. Can you close the door, Leah? So I have to like sit in this uncertainty, and I hate that because I like to have a plan. I like to figure things out, and when you get to that place of limbo and you're sitting here and it's just like, how do you pick yourself up after a while? Things are really dark right now, and it's just like heavy, and there's doesn't it seems like any type of light is just surrounded, and it's not treated very well. And I think that there's a lot of us that go through struggles every single day, and it's just like, let us be broken for a while. Let us be okay with being broken. Let us deal with our shit. Like, stop judging other people, because it's like we have a lot to learn about the people in our lives, the people around us. There needs to be more respect for people, you know? I'm not saying that the the masculine energy doesn't have wounds. Those wounds go so deep, there's just like, I can't even begin to start on that conversation, because I know that that's deep. I know that that hurts. I know that it's hard for everybody. It's not just women. But what I'm saying is, because I'm a woman, this is where I'm at. This is what I feel. Hold them to a level of respect, because we really we have the intuition. There's just like, how is it ever supposed to be like a true connection with another person when we can't even get past like the labels and the judgment and the pride and the ego? You know what I mean? Like, I don't have time for anybody else's ego. Like, my own gets in the way, my own pride gets in the way. Like, it's really hard for some of us to stand up sometimes, and it's just like, we deal with stuff by ourselves. We can't talk about it. Oh, go to a therapist, go take some medication. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a solution for everybody. I don't want to sit and talk about how fucked up my life is. You know what I mean? Like, we just kind of are. We're kind of fucked up. Maybe it's okay, you know? But don't pass judgment on the next person, because it's just like, you have no idea what the next person's going through. We need to like have a more of an open mind, because we all come from different places. We all come from different things. We've all had to deal with trauma and childhood wounds. And I feel like for some of us, like, breaking those generational curses, it's a lifetime bitch, you know? This isn't easy. This is hard. And then you're sitting in it, and you start to be enlightened. You start to do, you educate yourself. You have all this access to knowledge that comes from all over. You tap in, and you're like in between the two lines, where you're in this 3D where it's all about pride and ego. It's all about money and success and status, and you know, what kind of car you drive and what kind of brand names you wear. And it's just like, if that's what you think life is about, it's going to be a one hell of a wake up call when you lose all that stuff, you know?
The pig.
Close my door. Grief is really weird for me. Like, I thought I was okay, but I'm not. You know, how do you mourn the loss of someone who you never really had? There's so much like bullshit in the air. It's like, how do you even begin to sit down with yourself to deal with yourself, and then other stuff on top of it, where it's just like you get lost in everything. You can't really talk to people, you know, that don't understand. Like, they think you're crazy. What, I don't really even give a shit what people think of me, but at the same time, like, some people should know better. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel. when they say life is pain, I do believe that sometimes. Like, this is this is a lot of pain. I mean, yeah, you grow from it, you gain knowledge from it, you can create beautiful things out of it. I'm a Scorpio, I know that. You know what I mean? That's all we ever do is create life out of death and stuff like that. But it's just like, the amount of healing that this world needs is overwhelming, because where do you start? You can start on yourself, that's fine, but when you can finally get to a place where you realize everything that you say to someone, everything you think about it, everything that you project on someone else is really a reflection of yourself, we really have a lot of work to do, you know, myself included. These mother wounds are deep, these father wounds are deep. This generational, I don't know what in the fuck my ancestors were doing. I mean, I understand some of them were probably solid, but god damn. Shitty genetics, you know, just alcoholics, addicted to something, you know. I don't even, it's just like, I don't see a healthy relationship anywhere in my family, you know? So how am I supposed to know what that is? I don't even know what that is. I want to believe in it. I want to believe that it exists, but I just don't know how anything healthy or real or true can exist when there's so much fake, when there's so much pain. In this fucking whirlwind of it, you know, where there's so much confusion and uncertainty, and it's just like, I think that I need, like, we all need to understand that we're never gonna understand certain things. There's gonna be a lot that you're gonna have to, it's gonna be really heavy, you know, like, it's heavy. It doesn't mean it can't be done. I just think that the traditional ways, the ways that we were taught, the ways that we learned how to do things, like, it all really has to change. You know, like, the ego that we create for ourselves, that we show everyone else, that our brain, every time we go through any traumatic event, anytime something bad happens that we don't want to feel again, our brain, the ego just wraps itself around that so we don't go through that again. But what your ego is doing is preventing you from a lot of good things in your life. It's like a blanket, a security blanket that you think is helping you, but it's not helping you. It's just making you relive the same circumstances over and over and over and over. So let's not be afraid of the pain. Let's not be afraid of the darkness, because clearly our leaders and our role models and our entertainment and our whatever we feed our minds is wrong. It's not anything that we should base any type of judgment or solid, you know, nothing, none of it's like, it's just kind of like, yeah, you can say illusion, but it's just like, it's a lot of fake. So to be those people in this life that actually know maybe, you know, a lot of things that you can't really talk about in your little shitty hick town because, you know, they think I'm a witch or whatever. Listen, if I was slanging spells around here, it'd be a whole different life. You know what I mean? Like, you would know if I was doing some shit. That's all I'm gonna say. I think, you know, to all the single mothers or the mothers that are struggling, and not necessarily, you could be in a relationship or a marriage, it's just like, Remember that title that you hold, even if it's heavy. You were given those kids, you were given that life, you were given those situations because they're meant to be in your life for whatever reason. And it's not gonna look like the fucking fairy tale that they feed you on in all media, mass media. It's gonna look messy, chaotic, train wreck, maybe a little bit of roadkill some days. There's depression, there's not sleeping, there's stress, there's forgetting stuff all the fucking time. I lose shit all day long, every day. My kids are there, it's madness, but at the same time, I don't know what I would be without them. So the stigma that comes with, oh, the single mom, single white female with the mixed kids, well, fuck it. You know what I mean? Obviously, I knew what I was doing. I didn't plan on being alone. None of us do. Sometimes that's how it goes. Sometimes that's just the product of the choice that was made. And you're constantly in like karmic situations where you're supposed to be learning and doing something different, but you go back to the same shit because it's comfortable. So 36 years later, we hit the wall a few times, fell down a few times, It gets a little bit hard, but at the same time, it's not like we weren't made to still be standing at the end of the day. No matter how messy or ugly that looks to the outside people. When you live in the fight or flight response for too long, the hormones that are released from your brain into your body are a detriment to every single system in your body, and eventually it just shuts down. Starts to affect the major organs like your heart or your brain or things like that, and it just gets to the point where you're like, you had no idea that this was this bad, and now you have to deal with it all. You know what I mean? So you're kind of sitting, the middle of a tornado. That's kind of how it is. Along the way, you do gain perspective, but that doesn't mean that certain things are really ever going to leave the back of your mind, There's a lot to be learned from how we think about things, how when things are illuminated to us, how we have to transform our own way of thinking, because if you don't, then it's just going to be the same series of events. You can listen to a tarot card reader tell you that, the love of your life is coming on a white horse with some chocolate and some roses and some other shit, but at the end of the day, that if you're not making any changes and you think that you have it all together and you're not humble at all and you think that the world should just bend around you, then I don't think anything's going to change. And if you want to live in a place with no change, that's fine. But then that complacency and that melancholy and that feeling stuck is always going to be there. None of us are above anyone else, regardless of status and how much money. Money comes and goes. When you go in that box in the ground, whether or not you're in a box, you're by yourself. The Egyptians tried to take all of their stuff with them and they got robbed. You can worship an idol the rest of your life. You can form your entire life around wanting to be like someone else, but at the end of the day, whoever you look at yourself in the mirror, that reflection that you have is all that you can do anything about. That's the person that you should want to be like. That's the person that you have to embrace, flaws and all, stretch marks and, C-section scars and whatever else, bad circulation, high blood pressure. We have to accept every single ugly part of ourselves in order to be accepted by other people, because those insecurities are the main thing that is going to be shining it's going to be reflected back to us and whoever we're with or whoever we're around. It's constantly a learning thing. We have a lot to learn about ourselves, about other people, you know, that women were here since the beginning, that they were revered, they were listened to. That's where people went to advice to, like they were, you know, people trusted their judgment. There was no hidden motives. It was what it was. That there is a sense of pride, even though it's covered up, even though the statues were destroyed, even though the history in the Bible, you know, it all says something different now. That they want us to worship a man who wasn't even who they said he was, which is fine if that's what you believe in, but none of this stuff was ever meant to be worshipped or idolized like it is. The only way to enlightenment is through ourselves, through our own consciousness. That's how you unlock the different levels. Or you just keep going up the same flight of stairs the rest of your life. Some of the best singers, some of the best artists, some of the best speakers, they didn't get to where they were because they had it easy. They got to where they were because they struggled and they never gave up. That there's always going to be failure. We're going to fail. We're going to fucking fail. Whether you admit it or not, there's always going to be failure. There's always going to be defeat. There's going to be... Really, it just comes down to us judging ourselves. Like, you know, being really, really hard on ourselves for the things that we've done. But at the same time, we learned, we came out of it, you know. Pain does a lot of weird things to us, but it doesn't all have to be bad. Instead of competing with people or being jealous or thinking a certain way, maybe there's that person's in your life to learn something from them. Maybe they could help you along the way because they say we're all just walking each other home. For some of us, it's really fucking messy. For some of us, I grew up in foster homes. My parents were not there. My mother really was only able to care about herself and what she wanted to do. My sister had to raise me and put up with all my bullshit my entire life. And that was not fun because I did some pretty wild shit. She had to put up with it. I think that we're always going to be given what we need, but it's not going to look like what we think it is, maybe. It gets really hard to see out here. It gets pretty dark. It gets pretty depressing. It gets exhausting. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a reason to have faith that things could be better. Because the more you hold on to things like, you know, have you ever tried to carry a bunch of groceries up the stairs? If you're like me, I think I could do it all in one trip. And I have all these bags. So that's everything that we're carrying around with us that we've been through our entire lives. If you carry all that with you and you never let anything go, you never try to forgive, if you never try to, you know, just take the lesson and understand, then how is anything new supposed to come in? Like, that really is all cause and effect. What goes up must come down, you know, what you put out comes back. It really is like that. But if we're carrying everything with us all the time, we're not gonna let anything go. We're gonna hold this grudge. And don't talk to me about holding grudges, because I can hold grudges forever, but at the same time, who's that benefiting? It's not benefiting anyone. it's hurting me. You can't bring anything good or better or improved into your life if you don't let anything go. And we have to let it go, whether or not there's any type of closure. And I think that we always want this closure, we always want this answer or this moment where we understand. And I don't think that it's going to be there all the time. There's going to be a lot of things we don't understand. There's going to be things that there is no closure, because that's just not how it goes. And that's crazy, because it's hard to accept that. I don't want to, things just, it was that way and that happened, and it sucks and it's hard, and there's going to be a lot we don't understand, especially when trauma's involved, especially when abuse is involved, when rape or death or whatever, all of that stuff, that's not going to come with a sense of justice all the time. It's not going to come with a resolution. It's going to come with a lot of unanswered things that can either keep you in a place where you're still holding on to it, or you can just understand that this is just how it is. That it's okay, though, that maybe you didn't deserve that, you didn't ask for that, but that's just it. It is what it is. It happened. And there's so many energies around us, and they take the form of so many things, and you can get lost and you can get paranoid in that. But at the same time, be careful what you listen to, be careful what you believe, because you could live in a state of paranoia, but it's not benefiting anyone. You can wish the best for people that really didn't have good intentions for you. You could just accept that that's the way they are, that it's probably not going to change, and move on from it. It wasn't the ending that you wanted. It wasn't the expectation. It wasn't what you expected. It wasn't how you wanted things to go, but that's what happened, and it's just time to understand that. I think that I am going to do a different video, because I did have messages for all the signs, but I want to do it on a separate video, because this is something that I just needed to do and talk about. And whoever is listening, thanks for listening to me ramble. I don't want anyone to think that I don't appreciate all the love and support and, understanding that there's been over the years, especially on my channel, because I do appreciate it. It's just my own thing that I'm going through, and I'm still around. It's just not going to be probably like any other channel. It's just going to be when I can do things, when I'm in a good place, when I can channel for other people, and it doesn't come from my own ego or my own bullshit that I'm dealing with. So I really do wish the best for everyone. I think that when you're dealing with certain things, it's hard, and maybe you don't have support, but you are supported. You're never alone, even if it feels like it. There are going to be people that understand what you're going through, and people that will listen or just understand. There's a sense of understanding that comes with this after a while. So I'm going to get off this, and I'm going to do a different video. I'll see you guys later.